The 2D Mario formula is a formula almost as old as gaming itself. And with the success of the NES trilogy came a hunger from fans for more. This hunger spawned dozens of clones that tried to replicate what made these games so special. But one thing they weren't able to replicate was the innovation that came with each new entry in the series. You could copy everything that made Mario 3 so innovative, but at the end of the day, there wasn't any novelty to a carbon copy that was solely made to cash in on Mario's success. And as the NES era came to a close in the late 80s, Nintendo decided that for the launch of their next console, they were going to reinvent the genre that Mario defined, and create something truly unique. Something to show all those imitators that Mario was still the king of 2D platforming. And thus, Super Mario World was born. This game is not only important because it introduced the world to 16-bit gaming in a way no other game could, showing off the improved graphics, sounds, and general innovation that came with the next generation, it also expanded upon the 2D platforming genre in ways we could have never imagined. And in this video, we're going to take a deep dive into that, and a lot more, as we discuss the genius of one of the most important Mario games ever made. So without further ado, my name is Mariomikester, and welcome to a Super Mario World retrospective. Shortly after the release of Super Mario Bros. 3 in 1988, Nintendo began work on Mario's next big adventure, at the time internally referred to as Super Mario Bros. 4. At this time, sales of the NES were slowly dropping, with Nintendo president at the time Hiroshi Yamauchi pointing out that if they kept supporting the system, players would get bored and move on to different systems that had better graphical capabilities, which put Nintendo in a weird spot. On one hand, they had their most successful product ever, but on the other, they had the realization that its heyday was over. So in an attempt to hopefully bring over most of their player base to a brand new console they were working on, they decided Mario should be the one to kick off its release, with Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto and series director Takashi Tezuka leading the team. At first, as an experiment, the team ported Super Mario Bros. 3 to the system. However, despite the improved sprites and graphics, the game felt the exact same. So in order to truly set this game apart from the others, Miyamoto decided that the team's goal should be to use the SNES to create something totally new and unlike anything we'd ever seen before. With the newfound power of the SNES, Miyamoto was also able to fulfill a dream he had for the series since the first game, which was for Mario to have a dinosaur companion. This new dinosaur companion also led the team to have the game take place outside of the Mushroom Kingdom, with Mario's journey taking him to Dinosaur Land. When working on Yoshi's design though, the character went through many variations, first beginning very reptilian-like and honestly kind of scary, before Tezuka stepped in and opted for a more cute design for the character so it could have more general appeal. This led to the classic Yoshi design we all know and love today. And I'm honestly glad they went for this cute approach as opposed to a scary reptile, as I don't think Yoshi would be nearly as popular if he looked like that. And after about a year of development, the game was first shown off to the public at Nintendo's first trade show, called the Shoshinkai. Very few images of this build are around today, but from an online recreation and general accounts from people who attended the event, although the graphical leap was more than noticeable, it was seen by many as far too similar to previous Mario games, and didn't carry that totally new sentiment Miyamoto pushed for the team to consider when making the game. This, along with general issues the team had working with the new hardware, led to Nintendo delaying the game to the fall of 1990. During this delay, the team did a ton of work to make sure the game was different from previous installments, and after being shown off again at the next Shoshinkai in 1990, reception was a lot more positive. And so, as development wrapped up in the following months, Super Mario World, along with the Super Famicom, was released in Japan on November 21st, 1990. Upon starting the game, you're pretty much immediately thrust into the action, with a text bubble appearing saying that you're in Dinosaur Land, and that the princess was kidnapped by Bowser again, and you gotta save her. After that, the game gives you a choice, left or right. This has led to many debates over which level is the real first one. On the left side, you have a very beginner-esque level, taking place in an open grassland, with a bonsai build being shot at you right away, practically forcing you to learn how to jump or duck. While on the right, you also have a very beginner-friendly level, but one a lot less immediately demanding than the left. This one also features the first instance of Yoshi being in a level, and actually leads you on a path towards the following stages, whereas the left stage leads you to a Switch Palace that activates blocks around Dinosaur Land that occasionally help you out. In my opinion, the left level is more of a tutorial stage that you can choose to tackle if you want some help from the Switch Palace, whereas the right level is the actual first level of the game, introducing you to the almost tropical vibes of Dinosaur Land, and of course Yoshi. One thing both of these levels do a great job of showing off though, is just how much more colorful Super Mario World is when compared to its predecessors. You see, while the NES had a limited color palette of 54, with 25 of them being able to appear on screen at once, alongside the fact that each sprite could only be made up of 3 different colors, the SNES blew that out of the water, with 256 colors able to appear on screen at once. And with this newfound power, Nintendo really wanted to show that off with this game, creating the most vibrant and colorful Mario game to date. Even today, looking back on this game, it's a masterclass in sprite work, and it's just a joy to look at. Now Mario and the creatures around him weren't limited to simple 3-palette designs. They could be made up of so many different colors, leading to him not only looking a lot more like his design from promotional artwork, but also being able to have little details like actual shading on his hat and overalls. And while with modern pixel art that may seem like nothing, back in the day, this made Mario and the creatures around him look more lifelike in game than ever before. I mean, just look at how good Mario looks. He almost looks as good as that subscribe button looks, so go check it out. Another huge improvement Mario World had over its NES counterparts is the music. You see, the NES was limited to only 5 audio channels with an 8-bit sound chip, and this led to simpler music tracks that got the job done, but left a lot to be desired. And most importantly, when sound effects in game played, you would lose certain audio channels that were playing music, as the sound effect had no other audio channel to use. With the SNES though, not only did we have the upgrade to a 16-bit sound chip, leading to crisper audio, it also had 8 audio channels, with 1 or 2 reserved specifically for sound effects, so that music wouldn't lose channels when Mario jumped or something. This new 16-bit sound chip and 8 audio channels allowed for much more crisp and in-depth music that could further immerse the player in the world of the game. I absolutely love Super Mario World's soundtrack because it uses this upgrade incredibly well. You have the bongos that are added to almost every track in the game when you're riding Yoshi, and just the general passion Koji Kondo put into arranging the OST. One of the things I love the most about this game's soundtrack is the personality that oozes from every track. You can tell just how much fun Koji Kondo was having with the now 8 audio channels, and the way they're used in specifically the opening and ending theme of the game is absolutely genius. One thing a lot of people don't know about this soundtrack though, is apart from the opening, ending, and Bowser fight theme, Super Mario World actually uses the same song but remixed for all of its stages. Yes, that's right, that iconic overworld theme is just sped up, slowed down, or slightly altered for literally every stage in the game. And they did so much to differentiate this that it's almost impossible to notice unless you're specifically looking for that. And when you do, it's hard to listen to these songs the same way. This was an interesting decision, and upon finding out about it, I was honestly kind of disappointed. But after re-listening to the whole soundtrack with this in mind, it kind of made me appreciate it more. I mean, Koji Kondo is so talented that he can use the exact same melody over and over again and still make it sound unique and different. Each one of these themes still so perfectly fits their stage despite being variations of the same melody. I mean, the fact he was able to turn this into this is just baffling to me. Some of these remixes are a little more obvious than others, like when comparing the water theme to the overworld theme, but they still fit their respective stages, and I think that's insanely impressive. Props to you, Koji Kondo, you did an amazing job. Then there's the levels. Super Mario World, in my opinion, is a huge improvement on the level design from Super Mario Bros. 3. While Mario 3 had a more short and sweet level design philosophy that works incredibly well for that game's thesis of being as fun as possible, Mario World's more fleshed out and longer levels leave way more of an impact on the player. I just find the levels in this game to be so cozy and warm. And maybe that's partly from the nostalgia I hold for Mario World, but I mean, I grew up with both of these titles, and World's levels have left way more of an impact on me. I've practically memorized the first 10 stages of this game from just replaying it over and over again. I think one of the biggest things that sets Mario World stages apart from 3 is how well World stages are built around Mario's physics. Mario feels a lot different in World, and thus the levels reflect this, being more designed around his quicker and longer jumps and expanded moveset with the inclusion of the spin jump. Seriously, the spin jump was an amazing addition, allowing you to bounce on spiked enemies like thwomps or buzzsaws, and just generally makes me feel way more in control of Mario. You also have the ways Yoshi fits into these levels. You see, when you complete a stage with Yoshi, you don't just abandon him like in the new Super Mario Bros. Series. Here you can take him to practically any level you like, with the obvious exclusions of castles and ghost houses. Yoshi adds a whole new factor into the equation, and making use of his tongue and unique mechanics like being able to bounce on most enemies without taking damage, makes him super useful in some of the game's more difficult stages. He also practically makes you invincible if you're smart, as getting hit with Yoshi doesn't kill him, but rather just has him run away from you. I can't even begin to think of how many times I've just tanked through levels with Yoshi's extra hits. And although this doesn't exactly pertain to level design, I've always felt Mario World stages have a much more cohesive theme than 3. 3 was all about variety. You had grass levels, desert levels, snow levels, and the works. And while that variety is amazing for that game, in World, since the entire thing takes place on Dinosaur Island, the more cohesive themes these levels have lead to me being more immersed in this world. Some stages also just entirely rely on where they are in the world. Probably my favorite example of this is the Butter Bridge levels. These levels take place on a giant bridge spanning 2 mountains in Dinosaur Land, and I love how both of them have the same theme of being bridge levels. It's a tiny detail, but one that goes a long way in making me feel more connected to this 16-bit world. Another fantastic aspect of the levels in this game are the sheer amount of secrets. You see, in Super Mario World, secrets are taken to a whole nother level we've never seen in a Mario game up to this point. Stages are marked uniquely in this game with either a yellow dot or a red dot. A yellow dot means the stage has only one exit, and you aren't encouraged to explore it all that much outside of the occasional hidden one-up room. A red dot, however, outright tells the player that that specific level has multiple exits, and directly encourages them to explore it in order to find that secret exit. There are so many secret exits in this game that it would take a while to talk about every single one, but just so you get the gist of it, a secret exit in this game usually entails you going off the beaten path, finding a hidden pipe or area that contains a key and a keyhole. Grabbing said key and putting it in the keyhole results in an early clear and thus unlocks a different path. Some of these just lead you to castles early or offer you a different quicker path through a certain area, but a select few of them allow you to access Star Road. I remember Star Road fascinated me as a kid. It was this secret world that allowed you to quickly move around Dinosaur Island and access secret hidden levels that were a blast to play through. Even if I didn't understand, you had to find secret exits in these levels to properly unlock all of Star Road. Finding these secrets on my own as a kid through just sheer luck made Super Mario World that much more special to me. It felt like I was beating the game in my own way, going against what the developers intended and building my own path, even though these were entirely intended and meant to offer a different playstyle. Stuff like this, though, is what makes Super Mario World such a special game. It just has this way of entrancing you in its beautiful 16-bit world full of secrets, hidden areas, and a plethora of extra levels for the more hardcore players. You see, completing the secret exit in Star Road 5 doesn't just unlock a new path along Star Road, it grants you access to the Special Zone. Special Zone that sends you all the way back to the late 80s with its hilarious level names. I mean, you got Tubular, Gnarly, Way Cool, Groovy, Funky. I have no idea what Nintendo was thinking here. I guess they were trying to sound cool? I don't know, but it's honestly super charming even though these levels are so difficult. I think it's hilarious that they hid an entire secret world in an already pretty secret area, and just goes to show the amount of hidden secrets this game has to offer. And then we have the insane amount of new enemies introduced in this game. You have the introduction of the Pokey, Galoomba, Blarg, Magic Koopa, Chargin' Chug, Wigglers, Fishbone. I mean, the variety here is crazy, and is the biggest way this game initially stands out as a unique game. But then there are the big returning enemies that I think got the best new additions, the Koopalings. At the end of every world in this game, there's a castle that you have to carefully platform your way through. And waiting for you at the end of those castles is the Koopalings. One of the biggest issues I had with these guys in Mario 3 was despite being incredibly cool, unique characters, their boss fights left a lot to be desired, with them just running around shooting spells at you, and you having to jump on them 3 times. Well, here they've been dramatically improved, both graphically and gameplay wise. Now each of the 7 Koopalings almost have entirely unique fights. You see, while the first 4 Koopalings you face have unique fights, they do unfortunately reuse all of them, excluding Ludwig's for the latter half of the Koopalings. These unique fights were easily my favorite part of ending a world in this game. For the beginning, you always had a unique Koopaling to look forward to. I like how some of these fights also show off their personalities, like Roy and Morton being big bullies that drop down from the ceiling, and stun you due to their weight. In terms of uniqueness though, I'd have to give that to Ludwig's fight, as it's the only one that isn't reused. His fight sees him shooting fireballs at you and hiding in his shell when you hit him. He also has this cool thing where he jumps out of his shell and does a flip. What a show off. At the end of the day though, the Koopalings saw a major improvement in this game over Mario 3. I'll always love fighting them and seeing the way their personalities shine through these fights. Finally, there's Bowser. After battling your way through all 6 major areas of Dinosaur Land and completing this sunken underwater ship, you're granted access to the Valley of Bowser. Here lies Bowser's castle, and it's definitely a unique level to say the least. When you first walk in the front door, there's 4 doors for you to choose from, each offering a difficult challenge for Mario to get through. And after completing one of these challenges, you're met with another 4 doors and repeat the process over again. After that though, and the little bit of extra level that comes after it, you're finally met with the big bad himself, Bowser, for the very first time. Seriously, this game and Mario 3 have this weird thing where they save Bowser for the very end of the game, like we don't already know he's the bad guy. It's like if Eggman only showed up for the first time in the final stage of a Sonic game. It's like, oh no, how could I possibly expect this thing that's happened 80 times over to happen again? Anyway, here Bowser sports his brand new Koopa clown car, because he's definitely learned that fighting Mario head-on is not the strat. In this battle, he throws Mecha Koopas at you, that you have to strategically aim to land smack dab on his head. You have to do this 6 times throughout his 3-phase fight before defeating him. I honestly really like this fight. The princess showing herself at the end of each phase to offer you a power-up, and just the fact that Bowser is moseying around in this giant clown car is so charming. Without a doubt, this is my favorite Retro Mario Bowser fight. It does an incredible job at being both equal parts threatening and generally fun to play, and landing that final hit on Bowser feels amazing. Super Mario World is a very special game. It was created to kick off the release of Nintendo's next big console, the SNES, but also to refine the 2D formula to its absolute peak. And I'd say it did an astounding job at both of those things. I mean, not only was this probably the best introduction to the SNES you could have, it was also the best introduction to Mario you could have if you hadn't already been on the Mario hype train. Its colorful, vibrant, and alive world immersed you immediately into this game, and alongside its killer soundtrack was the most alive a video game had pretty much ever felt at this point. And the levels. Taking a step back from the short and sweet levels of 3, World created over 96 beautifully crafted levels that seemed to stretch on for as long as the eye could see. You had idea after idea constantly hurled in your face, and leads to one of the most replayable Mario games in my honest opinion. I grew up with this game, and without it, I don't think I'd be the exact same person today. This game really showed me what a platformer could be, and introduced me to Mario and his world in the best way possible. I'll never forget what it felt like finding my first secret exit, performing my first perfect cape fly to the end of a level. Heck, even my first time defeating Bowser and rescuing Peach. I know I have a lot of nostalgia surrounding this game, but I think even if I played this game for the first time today, I'd still love and adore it the same amount. Super Mario World has this way of immersing you in its beautiful world despite being over 35 years old. If you've watched this entire video and haven't played this game yet, or even haven't played it in a while, please boot it up on Nintendo Switch Online or an actual SNES if you have one. You're in for an absolute treat.